Hello and welcome to our channel where we explore the legends of Japanese horse racing. Today's featured horse is none other than TM Oprah O. Before we dive into his incredible career, let's take a moment to break down his name. TM stands for his owner, Masakio Takazono. Opera comes from his sire, Opera House, and the final O is a nod to the Japanese word for king, O. TM Oprah O's dam, once wed, was sired by Blushing Groom. Most of her offspring, Opera O's siblings, tended to be sprinters with a strong preference for shorter distances. To introduce more stamina into the bloodline, she was paired with Opera House, a stallion known for his long-distance prowess. When Takazono saw the young TM Opera O, he instantly took a liking to the colt and offered to purchase him. However, offspring of Opera House were required to be sold through public auctions. At the October 1997 sale, Takazono called out a bid of 10 million yen as soon as the auction began, and secured the purchase without any competition. TM Opera O went through a training center before joining the Iwamoto stable at the Rito Training Center. Even as a youngster, he showed well-balanced development, but his progress before his debut was so remarkable that trainer Iwamoto said, "I've never seen a horse from our stable clock such times." His regular jockey was assigned to be Wada, a young rider in just his third year at the time. TM Opera O made his debut on August 15th in a 1600-meter turf race. Although he was the race favorite, he finished second, 6 lengths behind the winner. After the race, a minor fracture was discovered, and he was immediately sidelined for a period of rest. He resumed training in December, and although he finished fourth in his comeback race in January, he secured his first victory in a dirt race the following month in February. He also won his next race, the Yuki Yanagi Show, and went on to compete in the Grade 3 Mainichi High in March. There, he secured his first graded stakes victory, finishing 4 lengths ahead of the runner-up. Thanks to his consecutive victories, TM Opera O had earned enough prize money to qualify for the Satsuki Show, the first leg of the classic races. However, when he suffered a fracture earlier in the season, his trainer had assumed he wouldn't make it in time and chose not to register him for the race. As a result, Opera O was not initially eligible to compete. But through a supplementary nomination, the trainer and owner each paid half of the 2 million yen fee, successfully securing his spot in the Satsuki Show. Interestingly, the supplementary nomination system did not originally exist. It was established due to the influence of one particular horse, Oguri Cap. In the 1999 Triple Crown season, 3 standout horses emerged, later known as the Big Three. One of them was TM Opera O, the horse featured in this story. The other 2 were Admire Vega and Narita Top Road. Admire Vega and Narita Top Road had already faced off in the Yayoi Show, a key trial race for the Satsuki Show, where Narita Top Road came out on top, with Admire Vega finishing second. Given that result, it was only natural for those 2 to be seen as the leading contenders for the Satsuki Show. At that point, TM Opera O was still considered more of an outsider. However, in the actual Satsuki Show, TM Opera O came from behind and surged past the field in the final stretch to claim victory. Narita Top Road finished third, while Admire Vega ended up 6th. Since TM Opera O had been seen as an underdog going into the race, his win was widely considered a fluke at the time. In the following Japan Derby, Admire Vega snatched victory in the final moments, overtaking another horse just before the finish line, much like TM Opera O had done in the Satsuki Show. Narita Top Road finished second, and TM Opera O came in third. Many said the result came down to the jockeys. Admire Vega was ridden by Yutaka Take, Japan's top jockey. In contrast, the riders of Narita Top Road and TM Opera O were still young and relatively unknown at the time. Over the summer, TM Opera O ran in the Grade 2 Kyoto Daishoten as a prep race for the final leg of the Triple Crown, the Kika Show. Unlike the classic races, the Kyoto Daishoten is open to older horses, making this Opera O's first time competing against seasoned veterans. He finished third, a respectable result for his first challenge against older competition. In the next race, the Kika Show, he gave chase to the front-running Narita Top Road, but couldn't catch him, finishing second. In the end, the 1999 Triple Crown was evenly split among the big three, each claiming one of the three classic titles. The Kika Show was run at a slow pace, and to some observers, it seemed that TM Opera O had something left in the tank at the finish. There was also criticism that WADA had waited too long to make his move. As a result, the owner asked trainer Iwamoto to replace WADA. However, Iwamoto reportedly responded that if WADA were taken off the horse, he would transfer Opera O to a different stable. In the end, WADA remained the regular jockey for TM. Opera OTM Opera O was originally scheduled to head straight to the Arima Kinen for his next race. However, since he had not won in several consecutive starts, the decision was made to enter him in the Grade 2 Stayer Stakes, held 3 weeks before the Arima Kinen. The hope was that he could finally notch another win before the year ended. However, despite being the overwhelming favorite at odds of 1.1, TM Opera O narrowly lost once again, finishing second. TM Opera O then proceeded to race in the Arima Kinen as planned. Two of the strongest horses at the time, Grass Wonder and Special Week, were also in the field, and as expected, they dominated the race. Even so, TM Opera O held his own, finishing a solid third right behind them. In the end, although he consistently ran well, 1999 turned out to be a season where TM Opera O struggled to secure victories. The following year, 2000, the final year of the century, became known as the year of TM Opera O. He competed in 8 races and won every single one of them. His campaign began with the Grade 2 Kyoto Kinen in February, followed by a victory in the Hanshin Daishoten in March. With back-to-back wins under his belt, Opera O set his sights on the Tenno Show Spring. In the Tenno Show Spring, it was widely expected to be a three-way battle between TM Opera O, Narita Top Road, and Rascal Suzuka, just like in the Hanshin Daishoten. Opera O settled mid-pack in the early stages, then began making his move around the third corner. He surged past Rascal Suzuka and claimed a brilliant victory. His final 200 meters were clocked at 11.9 seconds, the fastest closing time in the race's history at that point. From this point on, he began to be recognized as the champion of middle and long-distance racing. The next race was the Takarazuka Kinen, the Spring Grand Prix, held in June. Grass Wonder, who had defeated TM Opera O in the Arima Kinen, was also among the contenders, but we all know how it ended. Grass Wonder broke down during the race and finished 6th. He subsequently retired from racing. Thus, TM Opera O ended his spring campaign undefeated, with 4 wins from 4 starts. After a 3-month break, it was autumn. TM Opera O's momentum never stopped. TM Opera O began his autumn campaign with the Kyoto Daishoten, once again facing off against Narita Top Road. In the final stretch, Narita Top Road's jockey, Watanabe, used the whip in an effort to win. In contrast, WADA never touched Opera O with the whip, yet Opera O still edged out a victory by a head. Next came the Tenno Show Autumn. There were doubts about whether TM Opera O could win this one. At the time, the race had a notorious trend. The favorite had lost for 12 consecutive years, leading many to believe that the top choice can't win the Tenno Show Autumn. This was reflected in his win odds as well. Although TM Opera O was the favorite at odds of 2.4, it was a relatively high number for a top choice. However, those concerns proved to be unfounded. In the final stretch, TM Opera O easily overtook Misho Doto, who had taken the lead earlier, and won by 2.5 lengths. At this point, jinxes no longer applied to him. Incidentally, this was also Jockey Wada's very first win at Tokyo Racecourse. One month later, in the Japan Cup, a similar jinx loomed. Favorites had lost the race 14 years in a row. Yet this time, TM Opera O entered as the overwhelming favorite with odds of 1.5. Strong contenders arrived from overseas, including the formidable Fantastic Light. In the final stretch, Meisho Doto surged to the front once again, but Opera O quickly overtook him. Fantastic Light came flying from behind, turning the finish into a three-way battle. Still, Opera O crossed the line with composure. His margin may have been slim, but his victory was never in doubt. Lanfranco Dettori, who rode Fantastic Light, praised TM Opera O, saying, "He's crazy strong, he's world-class." With this victory, TM Opera O extended his flawless 2000 record to 7 wins from 7 starts. All that remained for a complete sweep of the older horse middle and long-distance G1 races was the Arima Kinnin. However, he had sustained an external injury during the Japan Cup after making contact with another horse, which caused a slight delay in starting his training for the year-end Grand Prix. Even after training resumed, his form was less than perfect. It was clear he wasn't at his best. On the day of the Arima Kinnin, TM Opera O entered the race as the 1.7 favorite. However, he was boxed in by other horses and dropped back into the rear pack. To make matters worse, the race unfolded at a slow pace, far from ideal for a late closer. Even as they entered the final stretch, Opera O still couldn't find room to move. It wasn't until halfway down the home stretch that the tiniest opening seemed to appear. In that tight, unforgiving space, Opera O didn't hesitate. He charged forward into the narrowest of gaps. Most thought it was over. The crowd had all but given up. But in a flash, Opera O surged up alongside the leaders. He locked into a nose-to-nose duel with Meisho Doto. And in the end, it was Opera O who prevailed. 8 races, 8 victories in a single year. 5 G1 wins. An unprecedented achievement. With this incredible record, his overwhelming dominance, and the fact that the year 2000 marked the end of the 20th century, he came to be known as the overlord of the century's end. And as for the 2000 Horse of the Year, of course it was him. He was unanimously selected as expected. In 2001, the new century began. Due to concerns over the fatigue from his many consecutive races, TM Opera O was scheduled to undergo a recovery regimen at the JRA Equine Research Institute in Iwaki. The plan was for him to use the horse onsen, therapeutic hot springs, while exercising on the adjoining training track. However, an unexpected stretch of heavy snowfall prevented Opera O from spending much time on the training track. By the time he returned to the Rito Training Center, he had gained a significant amount of weight. Originally, he was scheduled to run in the Hanshin Daishoten in March, but his training progress remained sluggish. As a result, his return was postponed to the Grade 2 Osaka High on April 1st instead. In the race, his lack of sharpness was evident. His trademark turn of foot seemed to have dulled. He found himself in a battle down the stretch with horses like Air Shakur, but in the final strides, he was overtaken by Toho Dream, a 73-1 long shot who came flying from behind. In a surprising outcome, TM Opera O finished 4th. Meanwhile, Narita Top Road won the Hanshin Daishoten in record time with an 8-length margin, and Meisho Doto claimed victory in the Nikkei Show. The stage was set for the 3 rivals to face off once again in the Tenno Show Spring. In the Tenno Show Spring, TM Opera O's odds drifted slightly to 2.0, a reflection of concerns following his loss in the Osaka High. The race began at a blistering pace, with the first 1,000 meters clocked at 58.3 seconds, the fastest in the race's history. Opera O remained composed throughout the run. In the final stretch, he overtook Narita Top Road and held off the closing charge from Meisho Doto to claim victory. It was a powerful statement. He wasn't ready to give up his throne just yet. This marked his 3rd straight win in the Tenno Show, following his victories in the spring and autumn editions the previous year. Aiming for what would have been a new record 8th career Grade 1 victory at the time, TM Opera O entered the Takarazuka Kinnin in excellent condition. However, he was a fraction slow out of the gate, forcing him to race from the rear of the field. To make matters worse, he became boxed in by other horses and was unable to find a clear path when the race reached its decisive stage. In the final stretch, he finally managed to launch his charge, but could not catch the leader, Meisho Doto, and finished 2nd. For Meisho Doto, who had been runner-up to Opera O in every Grade 1 race, the champion had won since the previous year's Takarazuka Kinnin. This was sweet revenge. In August, it was announced that TM Opera O would retire at the end of the year. I had been following this horse's career in real time, and by this stage I felt his turn of foot had begun to decline somewhat. Still, I hoped he could win just one more Grade 1 race to achieve a new record: 8 career Grade 1 victories. His remaining chances were the Tenno-Sho Autumn, the Japan Cup, and the Arima Kinen. His autumn campaign began with the Grade 2 Kyoto Daishoten. In the final stretch, it turned into a three-way battle between Opera O, Narita Top Road, and Stay Gold. Stay Gold had the lead, but drifted sharply to the left, causing Narita Top Road's jockey, Watanabe, to be unseated. Stay Gold crossed the finish line first, with Opera O second. But after an inquiry, Stay Gold was disqualified, and Opera O was promoted to first place. In the Tenno-Sho Autumn, with the monumental record on the line, Opera O surged to the front first in the final stretch. He opened up a clear lead, but from the far outside, Agnes Digital came flying with a furious late charge. By a margin of 1 length, Agnes Digital crossed the finish line first. In the Japan Cup, the story was much the same. He was narrowly overtaken by Jungle Pocket, a Derby winner well suited to the Tokyo 2400 meters, and once again had to settle for second place. And so came the Arima Kinen, his final race before retirement. However, here he suffered what could only be called a major defeat, finishing 5th. The winner was the 3-year-old Manhattan Cafe, that year's Kika-Sho victor, leaving a strong impression that a new generation had taken over. TM Opera O retired after that Arima Kinen. Many expected him to achieve his 8th G1 win, a new Japanese record, but that never happened. He retired with a record of 14 wins from 26 starts, including 7 Grade 1 victories. His career earnings exceeded 1.8 billion yen, a total that still ranks 6th on the all-time list. TM Opera O retired to stud, but he didn't produce any outstanding offspring. This is said to be due to his pedigree. TM Opera O came from the Sadler's Wells line. Sadler's Wells is well suited to European turf racing, but Japanese racing is said to demand lighter, faster horses. TM Opera O happened to match Japanese racing perfectly, but his bloodline generally doesn't suit Japanese conditions. Even so, he stood at stud for a time, but sadly, he died of a heart attack in 2018. He didn't leave many offspring, but I hope his bloodline continues somehow. Finally, let us share an episode about him and his jockey, Wada. From 1999 to 2001, Wada and TM Opera O won Grade 1 race after Grade 1 race together. But after Opera O's retirement, Wada endured a long stretch without another Grade 1 victory. Wada once said, "Someday, I want to win a Grade 1 on my own, become a true professional, and then go see Opera O again." However, he never got the chance. In May 2018, before that reunion could happen, Opera O passed away. Soon after, Wada visited Opera O's memorial altar and vowed to rise again. That same year, in the Takarazuka Kinen, Wada rode Mickey Rocket, a 7th favorite. Taking the lead in the final stretch, he held off a fierce late charge from behind to capture his first Grade 1 victory in 17 years. It was as if TM Opera O himself had been pushing him forward, and Wada himself said as much. That's all for this time. If you want to learn more about Japan's great racehorses, please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.